Hey guys. So today we're talking all about your money mindset and your relationships. You see, one of the most powerful influences on your finances are the people that you surround yourself with, are the people who are most accessible in your life. Perhaps you've heard the saying before, you are the sum of the five people you surround yourself with and that you spend the most time with. Well, today we're going to be diving into how your relationships impact your finances, which relationships are most pivotal and how those specifically impact you, plus how to approach relationships to build more wealth and what to do about it if you stay till the end. All right, guys. So today we're diving into your money mindset and your relationships, how your connections end up shaping your finances. Because here's the truth. We are, human beings are connected machines, right? Like we're meant for connection. We're meant for community. We're meant for collaboration. That is such a powerful, beautiful aspect of who we are as a species. But ultimately, it can also mean that those exact same relationships can serve to hold us back and to limit us and to make us feel as though what we want to create may or may not be possible. And this can happen on a variety of levels. As a psychologist, I have done specialty training and I have an expertise in working with couples and working in relationship and working on relationships and working on communication with folks to help them be able to open up these channels of connection and community between them and the important people in their life. I've seen time and time again people influenced by those around them without realizing that they're being influenced by them. And when they wake up to how those relationships are influencing them, then they are empowered to make a series of choices. Now, something that I really like to say when it comes to relationships is one of two things happens in our relationships when we up-level our own mindset, when we up-level our own being to be who we truly are, right? What happens is one of two things. Either the relationship rises to meet us and the other person, and it's not that the other person has to improve themselves, but that they appreciate what we're doing, they appreciate where we're going, they appreciate what we're creating, or that relationship may end up not being a part of our lives in the future, which can be somewhat challenging to confront. And to be honest with you, it ends up becoming a bit of a money block and limiting belief for a lot of people when it comes to creating more wealth and abundance. Is most people, not most people, but a lot of people end up convincing themselves that if I up-level my wealth, if I up-level my way of being in the world, my leadership, my success, what's going to happen is I'm going to lose all of the important relationships in my life. My partner's going to be threatened. My friends won't know how to interact with me. Any of these things, I'm going to have a whole new friend group. I'm going to have to act a different way, da, 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 da. And so people end up holding themselves back from new levels of wealth and abundance, from new levels of success, from having a bigger impact, from being seen more because they're terrified of what's going to happen to their relationships. Like I said at the beginning, as human beings, we're wired to have relationships. We're wired to have connection with other people. And that's usually one of our highest values. And so if that's your highest value and you've convinced yourself that I'm going to lose all of these things that I value, I'm going to lose time with my kids. I'm going to, I'm going to be a dick and my uncle won't like me anymore, whatever it might be. If you convince yourself that that's what's going to happen, if you become more wealthy, if you make more money, if you become more successful, guess what's going to happen? Your subconscious brain, the part of your brain outside of your awareness that tries to protect you from perceived threats, is going to hold you back from getting the thing that you want, which is more success, abundance, freedom, all of this stuff, because you believe on that subconscious level outside of your awareness that you'll lose these important relationships. So that's number one of the most important things to address when it comes to our relationships and our money mindset and our success mindset is what kind of underlying beliefs do we have about, do I have to sacrifice the important relationships in my life in order to have what I truly want? Do I have to, do I believe, because you don't have to, by the way, you don't have to sacrifice these things at all. And in fact, you can have closer relationships, more time with your partner, friends, family. When you learn how to communicate about money, when you learn how to connect with people and to have good boundaries and all of that stuff, you don't have to lose any of these relationships. But if you have those beliefs underlying in the background, telling you that this is the reality, you're always going to hold yourself back from more. So that's the first important thing. The second important thing to understand is that on a whole other level here, the relationships that you're surrounded by, whether they're positive or they're negative, significantly are going to impact your financial beliefs, your money blocks, and your financial situation. Now, I just did a podcast about the psychology of money blocks and where they come from and how so many of them are based upon our relationships. They're based upon the communities that we're in, our parents, our families, you know what I mean? Our schooling, all of these things. So when, and a lot of them are from when we're children and when we're growing up. However, it's sort of like, to think you're going to clean up the stories from the past and release the money blocks that maybe you adopted from your parents, but then you're going to continue to surround yourself with people who have substantial money blocks and believe really negative things about the wealthy or about these things. And you continue to hear these things day in, day out. What do you think's going to happen? Well, you're going to take on those beliefs. I mean, this is the way our psychology works. We generally will take on, like osmosis, we will take on the beliefs of those we surround ourselves with. We will take on the way of viewing the world by those people we are surrounded with and spend time with and talk to day in and day out. Unless you have really, really strong internal boundaries that say you can believe what you believe and I'm going to believe what I believe, which is absolutely possible. But until and unless you have those really strong internal boundaries, what happens is that you unconsciously, subconsciously, because you're just sort of, it's like having one of those audios on when you're sleeping, like I'm thinking of that episode of Friends where Chandler's like, I am a woman who doesn't like to smoke cigarettes or whatever. And he stops smoking cigarettes, but then he takes on all these other characteristics because he just hears this in the background all the time. Well, that's what happens with limiting beliefs and blocks, as we hear it in our own brain in the background all the time. But it's also what happens in relationships. When we hear people talking about money, about the wealthy, about success, about, all those, those people on Instagram, they think they're all cool. And then you're like, well, what are they going to think if I start posting on Instagram about my business all the time? And we hold ourselves back because of what these other people are saying, or we begin to adopt those beliefs as well because of osmosis. We're like sponges and we just absorb it from the atmosphere and from all of the environmental influences around us, which are all of these freaking relationships, right? So one of the things that I like to say, I've heard said before is if you want to be happy, marry somebody who's happy. You've probably heard the phrase of happy wife, happy life, right? Because that one rhymes. And it also probably goes happy husband, happy life as well. But this is an example of how much harder it is to feel rooted in your capacity to create what you want in your life, whether that's happiness, freedom, wealth, success, if the person standing next to you through thick and thin is telling you the opposite of what it is that you're trying to create. And so if you are in relationship with people, and it doesn't have to be an intimate relationship, it can be your best friend, it can be your sister, it can be your mom, it can be your dad, it can be your teacher, it can be your boss, it could be the bus driver you talk to every freaking day. But if you are in relationship and standing next to somebody who is consistently giving you the idea that, let's talk about happiness for a minute. The world is a dangerous place and there's so many things wrong with it and everything is horrible and look at this and da-da-da-da, and they're complaining all the time. How are you going to feel? You're going to feel heavy and you're going to feel weighted down by their perception and what they're talking to you all the time. You're going to feel as though their complaints, well, maybe that's true because I'm just hearing it all the time. This is why also, and it's a bit outside of the context of this podcast, paying attention to the news sources that you listen to and all of the information that you consume is essential, because if you're feeding your cup with the fact that like everything's a problem and everything's going to shit, guess what? You're going to start to believe that everything's a problem and everything's going to shit. Same thing with our relationships. If the people who we surround ourselves are giving us that message all the time, we're going to start to believe it. But there's a silver lining. The silver lining is that also means that you can surround yourself with positive relationships. You can infuse your being with the subconscious seeds that plant outside of your awareness by listening to, talking to, having conversations about the positive aspects of things, the things you're excited about, the things that you're anticipating, the things that you intend, the actions that you're going to take, all of these beautiful things. So you have the opportunity to reinforce your beliefs in one way or another. You can either reinforce all of those old money stories and all of that old limiting beliefs and those money blocks by listening to the, maybe it's like your brother is always complaining that, about financial reality stuff and you just keep listening to him. Well, you can rewire all those beliefs from the past, but if you keep playing the same tape over and over again, it's gonna continue to cause a mess in your brain. A different way of thinking about this, a nice analogy, would be like, imagine cleaning your house, right? Top to bottom. And then you invited, you had a herd of 15 dogs that you let in the door with muddy paws. Well, no matter how many times you clean that freaking house, if you have those dogs with muddy paws in your house, you're going to have a muddy house. And that's the way it works with these relationships and what the seeds that other people are giving you, what you're planting in your garden. So this can happen in marriage, right? With your partner. Who you marry has a huge, or who you're in partnership with, or who you're in relationship with, intimate relationships with, has a huge impact on your finances, your success, your happiness. You know what I mean? Like, we spend probably more time with our partner than we do with anyone else. And so they probably have the most influence over how we feel in terms of finances, success, all of these things. This also means that whatever it is that this person, and this could be also with your family, but it's more profound with your partner, is whatever they see as the limit of what's possible, whether it's with wealth or success or impact or freedom or whatever it is, well, that's not possible. That's going to become, or it can become, your limit as well. Because you're, so much about intimate relationships is about compromising and about finding common ground. So if you think that you can be, you can make $5 million in the next 5 years, and your partner goes, that's ridiculous. We make 50 grand a year right now. Why would you think that? That's impossible. Well, how do you find the middle ground between that? How do you find the place where you are finding a sense of compromise, right? Because if you're going to make $5 million, you're probably going to maybe want to go around the world, and maybe your partner at that point might believe it and might be like, yes, I'm on board. I see it. Bank account. But that's a totally different topic. But the point is how are you even going to allow yourself to believe that that's possible if your partner's always saying that's not possible, that's not reality, look at this. And so what happens is we either end up having to tell our partners, just get on board and believe in me and allow that relationship to elevate to the level that we're at. Choose not to speak about it with our partner so that we are not in constant compromise and conflict around what it is that we're building our business or our income to, or allow that relationship to not be in that context. What I mean by that is perhaps letting it go. And again, that can go to some of those fears that we talked about at the beginning. But, just to be really brutally honest with y'all, sometimes we have to see that the relationships that we've had are no longer serving the path that we're on and no longer serving our highest timeline and no longer serving what it is that we know that we can create and that we can be in our lives. And I am in no way saying get rid of your relationships or, you have to get rid of your relationships or anything like that, because you can actually work with your partner to help them up-level their mindset around money, around success, around freedom, and all of those things. And in fact, it is an irrefutable fact that as you shift your own inner narrative, as you shift your own relationship with money, success, abundance, all of these things, other people around you are influenced just by you having that strong inner sense of empowerment and standing in your power. Because as one boat rises, all boats rise, which means that you become the tide that influences those around you. Because here's an example. Somebody in a friend group ends up getting really fit, right? They end up starting to go to the gym. They get a rosy complexion. They start getting happier, and everyone around them can either criticize them behind their back, say it's impossible. Oh, it's not impossible. I'm seeing what you're doing. That's pretty cool. And then maybe they get curious. Then the people in the friend group start to get curious. Hey, Sue, you said you were going to the gym. Could you take me to that gym and show me around? Can you tell me what you're doing? Because you look really fat. You seem really happy. What's going on? People start to get curious and people start to see those things as possible. So when we stand in the power of what it is that we're shifting, we can often actually shift those relationships as well. So the other, key relationships that can really be important to our money mindset are our family. Like I said, I talked about that in the last podcast about money blocks and limiting beliefs, because so much of our beliefs about money and our perceptions and our perspectives around money come from watching our family growing up, adopting their beliefs, hearing things said over and over again. It's also things like family dynamics about financial decisions and about what, what happens with money. Oh, we teach the boys in the family to deal with money and the girls don't have to, or sibling rivalry around success and all of these things. There can be a lot of challenging things that occur within families when it comes to, when mom and dad pass, or inheritance, or any of that kinds of things, or who runs the family business. So there can be a lot of context when it comes to money and family as well. Money and community is another big one, like scaling your own capacity for wealth and abundance based upon the people you surround yourself with doesn't always have to mean, as I've said, leaving behind your partnership or your friend group. You've known these girls since high school or whatever it might be. Sometimes it's actually just choosing to have additional communities which support what it is that you're scaling into. So things like, making sure that you're in community with people who are building wealth and abundance, who have, ideas about unlimited success, who are entrepreneurs and who are, really excited about creating businesses, because let's be honest, the 9-to-5 mindset and the CEO mindset are very, very radically different. And people who are in the 9-to-5 can't always understand the CEO and the fact that you can make whatever you want to make. That doesn't seem possible to somebody in the 9-to-5 mindset. Doesn't mean they're wrong. Doesn't mean anything's wrong with them. It just means that it's a different mindset. And so you have to have your own entrepreneurial communities, things like that. You know what I mean? Really cultivating and shaping who you're being influenced with on a more global level, as we talked about a little bit earlier, in terms of news, in terms of social media, in terms of the email lists you subscribe to, so that you are surrounding yourself not just with people in like real life who are supporting your dreams and desires, but people in terms of the information that you consume, in terms of building that supportive financial community that allows you to really lean into that embodiment that anything and everything is possible for you. Because hell yes, it is. Anyway, the last piece that's really important is to understand money and our work relationships as well. Having these communities that I just talked about is super important, but understanding that who you hire in your business, who you partner with in your business, or if you're working a 9-to-5 job, who your bosses are, who your coworkers are, what they're saying, what their beliefs around money are. These relationships are also highly important as well, because you will hear these things over and over and over again. If your boss is constantly griping about money or saying money's hard to come by, or there's no money in the budget for this, you're going to feel really uptight and really stressed about money, which is going to then leak over into your own personal finances. If you are running your own business and your employees always have a negative relationship with money, guess what's going to happen? That's going to leak into your feelings about whether or not you can lean on them or depend on them, or whether they'll be able to represent your brand in a way that is expansive instead of stressy about money, or whether they'll be able to do sales calls appropriately or whatever it might be, right? Or, if you are finding that your business partners are really stressy about money, guess what's going to happen? You're always going to be in that sort of push and pull that we talked about in terms of intimate relationships, where, either you're trying to pull them up or they're trying to pull you down. And it ends up creating all of this complexity around your financial reality because you're constantly being fed this line that this is hard, or business is hard, or this is going to be hard, or this is going to be a struggle, or money's hard to come by, or whatever it might be, from your business partners, from your affiliate partners, from your JV partners, from the people, you're talking to on your podcast, or whatever it might be. So we don't want to be surrounded by people who are coming from a place of scarcity when it comes to our business. We want to be surrounded by people who are also in this truly abundant mindset that says anything and everything is possible, because that then creates those subconscious seeds that are positive and ultimately allow us to create what it is that we want. So we need to, I'm just going to lay it out for you, make it really, really clear here, summarize what I've just talked about. Surround ourselves with people who have a positive, abundant mindset and who believe that we can do anything we set our minds to, right? This means consciously cultivating communities which support that, choosing to be part of communities, part of groups, part of masterminds, whatever it might be, friend groups, whatever, getting an accountability partner, whatever you need to do, getting a coach, whatever you need to do to surround yourself with people who believe in the unlimited nature of you and your capacity to build success, freedom, impact, joy, like a legacy, whatever it is that you're excited about and you're juiced up about. 3, allowing ourselves to set firm boundaries in our relationships that do exist, that we're not going to have a choice over, whether that's our parents or siblings or perhaps our partner, so that either they elevate their perspective on these things and are willing to shift into that abundant mindset, like the friend group with the one, with Sue who's working out, Sue is influencing them and they're elevating their own perspective on things. Or we set good boundaries. We haven't really talked too much about boundaries yet in these relationships, where we do not have these conversations about money. We do not talk to dad about, I don't know, the stock market or whatever it is, because it's not something that's productive and it's not something that's seeding these positive financial seeds for ourselves. And so we just opt out, or we ask our partner to not say these negative things about money right now because we're working on something, and we set firm boundaries. Another step, and I haven't talked about this yet, is truly learning how to communicate effectively with money, learning how to communicate with your partner with money, learning to communicate with friends and money, so that you don't do things like have smushy boundaries around, I pay for everything all the time because I feel guilty because I'm making more money, or because I feel like it's my job to take care of everybody else because I'm a caretaker, or I've got to shrink and I can't show up on social media because I've got to make sure everybody's always happy with me all the time, which means I'm limiting my capacity to grow my business or grow my success because I'm always worried about what other people think of me. All of these things are related to our relationships. And so allowing yourself to truly learn how to communicate about those things, express your needs, but then also the next step is truly allowing yourself to step into your authentic truth. Your authentic truth is that you are truly abundant, that anything is possible for you. Your success is inevitable if you just keep going. And if you can step into that in the most empowered way, you become, this is a strong way to put it, but you become a force to be reckoned with. And people can't really knock you off your, as Abraham Hicks would say, your high-flying disc, right? They can't knock you off of it. And you become the magnet that draws people into their own best selves, because you are standing so firmly, so confidently in your own inner resources, in your own inner power, that says this is who and what I am, which helps you set firm boundaries, which helps you feel confident in your own ability to create more wealth and success and abundance and all of this stuff. And it also allows you to communicate from a place of love and compassion, but also taking no shits, And so all of these things, when you bring them together and then surrounding yourself with a community that reinforces that empowered, mindset that says, this is my truth. This is when those relationships become something that seed a beautiful new reality, everything you wanted, instead of sabotaging you. So I want you guys to take a moment and reflect on your relationships and think about how they may be impacting you. You might even want to sit down, write yourself a list of the most important people in your life, maybe the most 5 to 10 most important people in your life, and ask yourself, how do they feel about wealth? How do they feel about money? How do they feel about wealthy people? How do they feel about successful people? How do they feel about people who are, on social media and doing all the things, or the things that are important for you and your business? And ask yourself, how is this impacting me? It will change your life, and it will help you understand perhaps the shifts you need to make internally to shift those relationships, or maybe some of the shifts you need to make in those relationships to make them even better.